Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today we're going to be discussing my reading plans for summer. Yes, this video is kind of late, and yes, this video I don't exactly know what I'm trying to accomplish with it. I just have been experimenting with TBRs because I really enjoy filming them. I'm just trying to see what works best for me. So today we're going to discuss my TBR plans for July and August. I have a couple readathons that I want to participate in. I'm going to talk about my Reading Rush TBR, which is all set and good to go. We all know how the year has been going, so I don't know how successful giving myself 7-8 weeks worth of reading will work, but we're going to try it. The first book and book that I will be prioritizing the most to read over the summer months is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. I'm so excited to read this book. It is an adult fantasy that I think has a phenomenal romance. I think there's an arranged marriage in here from two people who don't want to be married and then they have to get married. And do I know anything about the fantastical elements? No. Do I care? Not really. I just know that this has been talked about a lot by people I really trust and respect on BookTube, and S.A. Chakraborty really loves this book. She has it blurbed on here as well, which gives me great faith that I will enjoy the story. In the same vein as Empire of Sand, I cannot wait to get... Oh, no, I picked up the wrong book. Shoot me. God, I meant The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. I've already read Jade City. Idiot. The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin is the third and final book in the Broken Earth trilogy, a trilogy that I've really been loving, but it's been a long time coming for me to finish this story. I can't wait to read more things by N.K. Jemisin, but I definitely have to finish off her first series before I do so. I've been putting this off because I think this is going to destroy me, but I can't wait to read this. It's one of the finales I'm dying to get to, like, the most on my TBR right now. I need to finish this series. The next book I would like to read, I totally forgot I even owned until I saw Cass from What Cass Read mention it on her channel that she'd like to read it soon, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I totally forgot I own this. I also really want to get to it, and that's The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. This was really popular on BookTube a few years ago. It's an adult fantasy that I think has crossover appeal, but essentially it's set in the future, but there's a regressed society, and I believe our main character, she is like to become queen, but because she was so young, someone was ruling in her stead, and then she turns 19 or comes of age, and then it's time for her to enter the courts and start to rule. I have heard such polarizing opinions on this series. I own the whole series, and I totally forgot this existed, so I'm glad that she reminded me, and I'm excited to get to it. I would also like to get to Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This is a young adult fantasy that is often compared to Grisha, or at least the Darkling from the Grisha series. I believe this has to do with like blood magic, some possible like evil deities, and that's like one of my favorite things is like gods or deities, whatever you want to call them, who are either indifferent or don't care or cruel. Love that stuff. And this is also a book that's often polarizing. A lot of people love it, a lot of people don't like it. I'm interested to see where I fit on the spectrum, and I know that the sequel has somewhat recently come out, so I would like to finally give this a shot. I have a couple of reads that are on my 20 to read in 2020 list, so figured I'd mention them here. I would really like to get to Jane Steele by Lindsay Fay. This is an adult literary fiction story that is also part Jane Eyre retelling, but in this book, our main character, our Jane, is a serial killer who I think kills other serial killers. I'm not 100% sure. So many people love this. This is a lot of people's like all-time favorite book, and I am so excited to read it, but I'm also I'm also intimidated by it. I can't wait to read this. I've been dragging my feet on it for so long. No more. I need to definitely get to this story. I would also like to read The Names They Gave Us by Emery Lord. This is a young adult contemporary that's also on my 20 to read in 2020 video. This follows a young girl whose mother is sick, and instead of going to the regular like camp that I think her family runs, her mother sends her to another camp full of like troubled youth or people who've had a rough life to kind of broaden her horizons. There's a trigger warning in here for cancer and I think possibly death of a parent. I've heard so many people talk about like just sobbing through this book, and I don't know if I'm prepared for that. So my Jane Austen for this period will be Mansfield Park. I have 3 Jane Austens left to read, and it's my goal this year to read all of Jane Austen's work that I hadn't read before. And I've fallen a little bit behind on that, so I need to actively work towards it. I know nothing about Mansfield Park, other than the fact that both Mansfield Park and Northanger Abbey are some of her least read or least popular works. That's all I know, and I decided to give myself the chunky one. I don't know. I guess to make my life easier once like the end of the year comes. I know nothing about it. Forgot to mention, I also really would like to participate in Tome Topple. I know it's coming up in August, but no prompts or anything has come out from that yet. But I don't think any of these apply other than Mansfield Park in terms of tome. Alright, so I've moved this because we're going to go on to the Reading Rush portion of this TBR. As always, there's 7 prompts for the Reading Rush. It's one of the most popular readathons here on BookTube. I'll leave a link to the announcement video. I'm actually going to try and read 7 books, even though that's not one of the prompts this year. I'm going to try and do it. So I've picked a lot of shorter-ish books. We're going to see how well this goes. The first question asks you to read a book that matches the color of your birthstone. I'm a February baby, so amethyst is my birthstone, and I think I had it a lot easier than some people. So many people have like multiple birthstones, so my life was somewhat easy, and I chose The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. This is a short young adult contemporary that takes place, I believe, in Alaska, and I think it is multi-perspective, and it shows how these characters whose lives shouldn't interacting. I think I've tried reading this so many times for multiple readathons, everything, but I've never picked it up, and I'm excited to do so. It's really short. It's like just over 200 pages, so hopefully I can get to it. Prompt number 2 asks you to read a book that starts with the, and I chose The Last Namsara by Kristen Cicerelli. This is a young adult fantasy novel that I've owned for quite a while, and I've been interested in reading it. I believe this has a series of companion novels, and I actually don't really know what this is about at all. This is my audiobook pick for the week. I think it's like 12 hours, so I should be able to get through it within the span of a week. The next question threw me for a loop for a minute there, and it's to read a book in which you've already seen the movie of, and my brain goes, no. I read the books first. I never watch a movie and then plan to read the book after. So I haven't fully decided yet between 2. I'm choosing between Peter Pan and Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. These are both classics. Disney has adapted them both. We know Peter Pan, the Disney adaptation, is a nightmare, but I have seen them. I do own these classics, so I'll choose between the 2. I was leaning towards Peter Pan, but Alice is shorter, so we'll see. So the next prompt, there's been a bit of a change if you can't accomplish this one. I'm going to try and do the first one, but we'll see. But prompt 4 asked you to read a book entirely outside of your house, and I chose Mouse Volume 1 by Art Spiegelman. This is a graphic novel that depicts the author's father's experience being a Jewish person during World War II, and it depicts the Nazis as cats, the Jewish people as mice, and all of these things. And it's basically just the son grappling with what his father went through, what happened, like the horrors of World War II, and having it put in this art form I think is going to be very interesting. Probably not the greatest idea to do so for a readathon, but it is short. It's a graphic novel. I'm interested. I'm excited to read it. I've gone and confused the prompts. Prompt 4 actually asks you to read the first book you touch. I haven't decided which one that is going to be just yet. I'm gonna leave that up to myself later on. Prompt 5 is what mouse is going to be. And then prompt number 6 asks you to read a book from a genre you're always meaning to read more of. And for me, that's sci-fi. I really like sci-fi, but I still sometimes struggle to pick it up. And I'm choosing Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Duval. This is a French-Canadian author, which is always exciting for me to read any sort of Canadian literature. But this is told in case files, and I believe at the very beginning, someone discovers this like weird metal hand somewhere, and then the story picks up like years later and the ramifications of this one discovery. I've been meaning to read this for years. I've owned it for years. The book is stunning, and I now own the entire trilogy, so I figured I might as well finally pick up the first book. I'm very excited to read it. I also think this is conducive to a readathon because it's told in case files, so I should be able to read it faster than a regular book. And the final prompt asks you to read a book set on a different continent, and I chose Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini. Khaled Hosseini is a very popular author. He wrote The Kite Runner, A Thousand Splendid Suns, both books I've loved. He decided to write this book in response to like the Syrian refugee crisis, and the book takes place in Syria, or at least it starts off in Syria, and it is illustrated. It's very, very short, and I heard that it utterly wrecks people and makes people really, really upset. Why did I pick all these like downer sad books? Not excited to read this one because this one seems really sad, but it is time I read it. I've owned this one also for a while, even though it's so short. But yeah, I hope I really love it. Okay, so these are all of my reading plans for the next 2 months. I'm wondering how long I made this video and if this is worth it to be doing a 2-month thing, but I guess we'll have to see that in post. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any opinions on any of the books I'm going to be reading in the next few months. Please let me know down in the comments below. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!